Welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show. And now, here's Jeff Crilley.
Welcome back to the final segment of the Jeff Crilley Show. Man, this hour is going fast. We all know that feeling. You know, you're sick, you're feeling run down, and you dread the thought of going to the doctor's office because you're going to, let's be honest, we're going to sit in a chair that hasn't been scrubbed down and around other people who are hacking and coughing, and you could leave the doctor's office more sick than when you made the appointment. Some gentlemen are in the studio right now who are going to change the face of medicine as we know it. Ray Colon and Wayne Orchard are here from mytelemedicine.com. Gentlemen, welcome to the Jeff Crilley Show.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Okay, I got to hear how this one started. This is another one of those why didn't I think of that ideas. So Ray, why don't you start?
Telemedicine has essentially been around for 25 plus years. It's a form of providing care remotely. And more recently, starting back in the mid-2000s, some smaller companies have started offering accessibility via email. And I started an advertising agency back in 2007, and good business associate of mine approached me and says, hey, I want to build a platform that lets doctors communicate with patients over the web. And we started a company, and we moved operations out here, and that company was acquired. And then in 2014, I felt the exciting pressure to get back into the space. Saw the growing demand with consumers needing more convenient accessibility. And we started telemedicine, giving consumers access to care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week via telephone and video technology.
Okay, so Wayne, kind of walk us through it. So I'm feeling sick in the middle of the night. Is it an app? Do I go on the web? What happens?
Well, we have several different ways to access our services. You go web, app, or phone. Most convenient, of course, most people are going to just pick up that phone. And these are acute care illnesses. Cough, cold, fever, stomach not feeling well. It's 2 a.m. I've got a meeting I need to be at. What are my choices? Urgent care or ER? Both of those are very expensive. Do they take my insurance? Do they not take my insurance? Luckily, a lot of consumers are starting to get into this. So to pick up the phone, fill out their medical records just as if you're going into a new physician. They get connected with a doctor. Doctor will be able to go through just a protocol just as if you're sitting face-to-face with them. They'll go through that protocol, see what kind of diagnosis, and if possible, we'll write a prescription directly to your local pharmacy. You can go in, pick it up, start feeling well immediately.
Wow. Okay, so how does this work? I mean, what does it cost? Is it competitive with what you would pay for a doctor visit?
Well, correct. So right now, according to the American Medical Association, the average doctor visit, if you're paying a cash pay model, is $130 nationally, average. With our services, if you're on a consumer plan, you pay a monthly fee, and that ranges anywhere from $19 to $30 a month, and you pay absolutely nothing for the doctor visit.
Right.
So your cost is just monthly access, very much like insurance, but it's not insurance. You're just paying for the access to talk with the doctor.
And I keep hearing people saying, Obamacare is so expensive, I'm just going to pay the fine. But then they're kind of leaving themselves just kind of wide open. This is really a solution to that as well, is it not?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, now what you're seeing most common, especially with the Affordable Care Act, is the cost is very expensive. So most policies that you're seeing are high deductible policies. So you really can't even use any of your insurance benefits that you're now required to pay and have until you meet a $5,000, $7,500 deductible. So with telemedicine services, and my telemedicine specifically, you're now able to not need to use that deductible, that out-of-pocket expense, and virtually connect with that doctor for that common illness. And more importantly is, according to the American Medical Association, 73% of after-hour visits to an urgency care or emergency room are for common acute illnesses.
Really?
So this is the savings that you're going to have. And the average urgency care visit is $300, and the average emergency room visit is over $1,400 for a common illness.
And through an iPad or the web, can a doctor look down your throat and say, okay, I see you have a sinus infection? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, we do have video consultations in the states where it's allowed. And just like that, you're able to see the doctor's able to see you. Other than that, you can actually upload pictures. So is this poison ivy? Is this a rash? What kind of ointment do I need? You can actually upload those images to the doctor. But yes, if you had your phone, you could, actually, is this sore throat? What is this?
Right.
And again, we're not trying to take the relationship away from their primary care. This is for when it's after hours. It's inconvenient. My wife had illness the other day, called in to her primary care. Well, guess what? 4 days until she can actually get an appointment.
Wow.
Well, so what do you do? Again, it's urgent care, emergency care. Well, telemedicine is to the rescue. You're able to call, find out, is this something that can be handled over the phone? And if not, then at least what is this? And something Ray will probably touch on is that we have informational consults. So it's not just when I'm ill, but my spouse, my kid has this certain illness. What does that mean? Doctors are so busy in their own care, right now, that they spend 2 to 5 minutes with you, and they're in and out, because they're just so busy. Well, the doctor comes in, he says, hey, this is what you have, and this is what you need to take care of. And you're like, how do you even spell that?
Right.
Well, you start Googling. Well, you do Google doctor, all of a sudden you're like, oh man, I'm going to die or something.
Right.
Well, instead of that, you can call in or actually even email. We have a secured email server. You can talk to our doctors just on informational purposes only for free.
And is it a flat fee, like unlimited visits per month, or how does that work?
Correct. So when we have our consumer plans, it's a monthly fee, and they get unlimited access for themselves and their family. So everybody in the household is covered. Every member has their own, what we call a patient portal. So members are able to log in, they're able to manage their personal health records, and then they're able to add their dependents. So if I have my son and my daughter, I can now add them under my profile. I can upload their medical history. The doctor, of course, views these prior to doing a consultation. So he knows what current conditions they have, what allergies they might have to medications, what medications they're currently taking. The cost is just a fixed cost on a monthly basis. And then for the member, they would pay nothing for a consultation when that time occurs.
So what states are you in right now?
So we are a national service. We follow the state medical board guidelines for every single state. The only state presently that has tighter restrictions regarding telemedicine consultations is the state of Arkansas.
Okay.
Yep.
And I have to brag about your office space because I had a chance to visit you in downtown McKinney. Why don't you describe that for the viewer, because it's a cool space.
Yeah, it was really exciting. With all the exciting growth going on in this space, we knew that over the next 12 to 24 months, we were going to need a space that's going to hold 50, 60 people very easily. So we found right in historic downtown McKinney, right on the square of McKinney. It's the old Hope Hardware building, which is actually about a 130-year-old building. Mm-hmm. That is now it's a restaurant downstairs called a Pantry. And the second floor, they were using just for storage, almost 5,000 square feet. The hardwood floors on that second floor are almost 90 years old. And we spoke with the owner, Tom, and we worked out a great deal. And over the past 2 months, we've been building out, and we're now live and running our operations 24/7 in that facility. So it's exciting to be in such a historic place. And downtown McKinney is growing so much, so it's really just the energy of that area is great to see technology companies coming into the area.
Absolutely. When I saw it for the first time, I thought, Silicon Valley meets historic downtown McKinney, and you've got these beautiful floors. You even have an elevator. Wayne, describe that.
Yeah, it's an old pulley elevator. Like I said, back, what'd you say, Ray? The building was 1930s?
No, it's actually built in 1880s. And then the hardware company went in there in like 1930s, the hardwood floors.
Yeah, so the elevator from the from the storage of the hardware, they'd store everything up top and then bring it down in this cable elevator that they pulled by hand. But like so, you go upstairs and it's that Silicon Valley tech. Ray doesn't like to brag on himself, so I will. He's a great technology person. And some of the things that he has done and has built over the last 2 years on the software side is what makes us different. It's more than just being able to connect a patient with a doctor. We're actually able to go into businesses and brand it on their brand using API calls and be able to export and import information, color schemes, things like that no one else is right now doing or is able to do. And Ray, like I said, in his former business, kind of learned along the way, and that's why I came on board with him, was because he sat down and said, Wayne, I'm doing something different. I said, great, man. When he explained exactly what it was, I said, I got to be part of this.
Wow.
And so, Ray and his development team, he's got 2 great developers and a team underneath that has built out the technology platform that is superior to anything else that's out there.
Let's talk about how you work with large corporations. Wayne kind of mentioned that you could almost white label your product for the company. So if Exxon wanted to bring you guys in for their tens of thousands of employees, how would that work?
So, right now we aggressively work in that area. What we do is we go to large employer-based models. And for the employer, it's really a cost containment benefit. The reason why is if they can give their employees access to this telemedicine service through My Telemedicine, and if we can steer 5-10% of their traditional common acute ailments to telemedicine versus traditional methods, doctor office visits, emergency rooms, or urgency care, there's significant savings. So we go into the employer programs and we offer this benefit. In addition, one thing that we did differently on the white label side is our technology can be fully branded. So a lot of our partners are in the wellness space, they're in the healthcare space, and they don't want to promote My Telemedicine. Mm-hmm. They want to promote their own brand behind it, and we're okay, right? That's what we built the technology for. Our goal is just spreading the word about this great benefit and giving consumers the ease of access to care when they need it most.
And tell us how you network with the doctors involved. So let's suppose you're getting subscribers in Alaska. Are you partnering with local physicians in Anchorage?
Yeah, correct. So very much the same efforts that a hospital or a doctor practice would go about recruiting a doctor to work for their. We do the exact same elements. So we post a lot of offerings in the job boards. These doctors then see that we have these opportunities available in all the states. The doctors then apply and they send their CVs over to us. We then credential them very much like a traditional hospital or doctor practice would. We verify all their licenses, verify all their insurance, look into their history. We credential them to the highest standards. And then once they are credentialed and approved, those that make it to that level then get trained on our software. So we do go state by state based on the demand. We don't want to bring in too many doctors for a state that we might not have that many members.
Right.
But we're easily able to scale. And we do have our own in-house physician recruitment team that does all of our physician recruitment and placement.
Are there state rules about physicians and telemedicine that you have to watch? Like in Alaska, can only an Alaskan physician consult an Alaskan patient, or can they get a doctor from Hawaii?
Yes, so we follow the state guidelines of every single state. So the medical board guidelines, all My Telemedicine has done was built the technology that lets a doctor communicate with the patient. The doctor's practicing medicine. He follows the state guidelines. Of course, when it comes to telemedicine rules, we have our own chief compliance officer as well who follow those guidelines, and then we then educate the doctors as what they can and cannot do. Some states require, for example, a video consultation, for a consultation to be done. Some states would require only a phone consultation to be done. So, and of course, every doctor is licensed in that respective state. So if you have an account and you're in Texas, we would route you to a Texas doctor. But let's say you're traveling and now you're in Colorado, you would then speak to a doctor licensed in Colorado.
My guests, again, Ray Colon and Wayne Orchard with mytelemedicine.com, just like it sounds. So how do people get involved? I mean, are you looking mostly right now for consumers or companies or both?
Well, both on that end. First and foremost, we're out looking for those groups. So it could be employers, association, network marketers, and we're using my job is to use those relationships that are out there and build and grow that network. But we also are going to be going off a platform for a consumer model here within the next probably 30 to 60 days.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a tough one, Ray. Are you ready? Because, again, like my last segment, I always think about, okay, what's the liability? So what happens if a doctor gives a bad advice or something like that? Are you insulated from that lawsuit, or how does that work?
Well, so every doctor, of course, is required normally to have a medical malpractice. And, of course, our company as well provides them also a medical malpractice coverage. So there is coverage both on the doctor's end and as well as the company's end on our end.
Gotcha.
Well.
I mean that's the one that would keep me up at night. Is that, people love to sue doctors.
And the thing is, we're talking acute care illnesses. So we're talking antibiotics. No DA controlled substances.
Right.
So somebody wants to recreational drugs, or I fell down and can you give me OxyContin? No.
Right.
That's not what we're there for, So, and they're very conservative on this because it is over the phone, So not everyone who calls in can get diagnosed and get a prescription written to them.
Okay.
And in those cases, but at least they make that phone call and at least have some semblance of how urgent is this?
Right.
Can it wait till the morning? Do I need to go to the ER right now? So they take that conservative approach, and through the years, like again, Ray said, we're not the first ones who have come out to do this, and we have not heard of any case anywhere in any state that there's been a member been misdiagnosed and it's led to any illnesses past that.
So let's. I know you're both entrepreneurs. Let's talk about the big picture. Where do you see this going? How could it be a global company at some point? Canada.
Well, yes. So again, we really focused our efforts on our technology. So presently, we are already talking to international locations. We have some prospects that we're talking to out of Lagos, Nigeria, a big hospital group out of Dublin, Ireland. Also, Wayne's working with a group out of Korea. So our technology, not the service side, but the technology in itself is all cloud-based technology and very scalable. So we can deploy our solution into any practice globally within days' time and understanding their rules. So the bigger picture, of course, is a global international presence. Because of the relationships that I and Wayne have, we are focusing here, of course, in the States on the service model. But over the next 60 to 90 days, we're going to be ramping up rather aggressively on our international efforts to promote our software as a service.
And my sense is that there's going to be a kind of a never-ending sea of patients as the baby boomers age, and the Affordable Care Act seems less affordable than ever. I mean, the opportunity is great, is it not, Wayne?
It is. The shortage of physicians really has driven this. And, the care, like I said, my wife tried to get into her primary care physician. It's going to be 4 days. And if you look, state averages are around that to even more. So accessibility to a physician, and like I said, as the baby boomers are coming on, and now you got Medicare, Medicaid reducing, their reimbursement. So doctors are going, it's not worth it to even open up an office because their liability, because their insurance is so expensive. So, we're having doctors find us and calling us and saying, hey, what you're doing is great. I want to be a part of that.
Wow, what a great segment. So mytelemedicine.com is the website. You guys have been great guests. Thanks for being on the Jeff Crilley Show.
Thank you,
Thank
Jeff.
you for having us.
And we'll see you next week.